You ever wonder why some guys seem to have everything going for them? Decent looks, stable job, maybe even a great sense of humor, but women just don't seem drawn to them? Meanwhile, another guy walks in, says almost nothing, and boom, he's got presence. It's not magic. It's not even confidence in the loud, arrogant way we usually think of it. It's subtle. It's energy. And more often than not, it's what they're not doing that makes them stand out. The truth is, a lot of men unknowingly carry around habits that slowly chip away at how women see them. They're not deal-breaker behaviors at first, but when they pile up, they make you come off as weak, unsure of yourself, and unattractive in a way you can't quite put your finger on. This isn't about blaming or shaming. Hell, I used to do half of these without even realizing it. Most of these behaviors are things we're taught as polite, or respectful, or even romantic. But in the real world, they end up giving off the exact opposite vibe. And women. They pick up on it instantly, often on a subconscious level. So today, we're breaking down the 7 behaviors that are making you look weak in the eyes of women. Some of them might surprise you. Some of them you might already suspect. But once you become aware of these patterns, you can flip the script completely. You can walk into a room and own your presence. Not by trying harder, but by stopping. It's the behaviors that drain your power in the first place. 1. Over-apologizing. Let's start with one of the most common habits that quietly kills your presence. Over-apologizing. I'm not talking about owning up when you've actually messed up. That's called being accountable, and it's powerful. I'm talking about the kind of apology that slips out every time you text someone, walk into a room, or express an opinion. You send a message like, "Hey, just checking in, sorry if I'm bothering you." Or you speak up in a conversation and immediately follow with, "Sorry, that might have sounded dumb." You're apologizing for existing, for taking up space. And to the person on the other end, especially if it's a woman you're interested in, it doesn't read as politeness. It reads as insecurity, what you're really saying underneath. Those constant apologies is, "I'm not sure I'm allowed to speak. I'm not sure I deserve your time," and that energy. It's not attractive. Women are deeply intuitive when it comes to emotional confidence. They don't need you to be perfect, but they want to feel like you're grounded, like you're centered in who you are. Constantly apologizing sends the opposite signal. Feels like you're asking for permission to exist. Okay, and here's the truth. People, especially women, respond to how you treat yourself. If you keep acting like your presence is a burden, don't be surprised if others start treating it that way too. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between being considerate and being a chronic apologizer. "Sorry I'm late." When you're actually late, cool. But "sorry, I didn't mean to text so much" when you're just having a normal conversation. That's unnecessary. A better move? Replace the apology with gratitude or clarity. Instead of "sorry" for the late reply, say, "Thanks for your patience." Instead of "sorry if that was weird," try, "Hope that made sense. Here's what I meant." Small shift, huge energy difference. That's how you keep your strength without being rude. That's how you come across as a man who owns his space without trampling others. And trust me, women feel that difference too. Seeking constant validation. Here's one that slips under the radar for a lot of guys. Seeking constant validation. It doesn't always come off as obvious begging for compliments or praise. Sometimes it shows up in more subtle ways. Constantly asking if she's still into you. Repeatedly checking in after every conversation. Or overanalyzing her tone and then asking, "Did I do something wrong?" At first glance, it might seem like emotional openness or attentiveness, but from her perspective, it starts to feel like emotional pressure. Like you're outsourcing your self-worth to her responses. And when that happens, you stop being a man she's drawn to and start becoming a responsibility she has to manage. Women want a man who can stand on his own emotionally, mentally, energetically. That doesn't mean you can't ever be vulnerable or real, but it does mean you can't constantly be looking to her to remind you that you're good enough. Imagine hanging out with a guy who kept asking, "Are we good? Are you mad at me?" Was that okay? Every 5 minutes? You'd probably get exhausted, right? Same thing here. When you need someone else to keep filling your cup, it signals that you're not sure of who you are or what you bring to the table. And that uncertainty, it leaks out, gets felt. What's more powerful than constantly checking in is showing up with quiet confidence, not arrogance, just a calm inner knowing. If you've said what you meant, you brought your energy. You let the other person respond however they choose. You don't flinch. You don't chase the reaction. That kind of presence is magnetic. Says I'm here because I choose to be, not because I need your approval to feel okay. And that right there is what makes you stand out in a world full of men who are desperate to be reassured every step of the way. 3. Avoiding eye contact or body shrinking. Asterisk, this one's silent, but it speaks volumes. Avoiding eye contact. And shrinking your body. You could be saying all the right things, but if your body is telling a different story, one of hesitation, smallness, or fear, as what people, especially women, will believe. The way you carry yourself is like your emotional signature. When you walk into a room with your shoulders hunched, your gaze down, arms crossed, or fidgeting, it's like you're trying to make yourself invisible, okay? And you might not even realize you're doing it. A lot of guys develop this posture from years of social anxiety or just being taught to stay out of the way. But the problem is, this signals insecurity. It tells her, without a single word, I don't feel safe in my own skin. Now flip the picture. Think of a guy who walks in with relaxed shoulders, steady eye contact, and an easy pace. He's not puffing his chest out or trying to look dominant. It's just present. It's that presence, calm, grounded, unshaken. That's what women are drawn to. It's because it tells them you're not hiding from the world, you're standing in it. Even a few seconds of confident eye contact during conversation can change how someone perceives you. Not staring, just engaged, steady, like you're not afraid to be seen, and posture, straighten up, chin slightly up, shoulders relaxed, not rigid. It's basic, but it's powerful. There's even science behind this. Studies show that confident body language, what researchers call high-power poses, can actually change your hormone levels, increasing testosterone and lowering cortisol. In other words, you literally become more confident by holding yourself like someone who is. And the moment you stop shrinking, women included, start responding to you differently, often without even knowing why. Because your energy shifts. You stop looking like someone who needs permission to exist, and you start looking like someone who belongs because you do for trying to. It's hard to please. Asterisk, here's the tricky thing about being too nice. It feels like the right move. You think, if I'm agreeable, if I say yes to everything she wants, if I never create friction, she'll like me more. But in reality, that kind of behavior makes you invisible. When you try too hard to please, constantly bending over, backward to match her preferences, avoid conflict, or go along with whatever she says, you slowly erase your own identity. And women don't want a blank canvas. They want a real person, someone with edges, opinions, boundaries. When you're always accommodating, never pushing back, never showing your own direction, it feels fake. Like you're not being kind. You're being strategic, hoping she'll like you more if you just make her life as easy as possible. But here's the twist. Constantly trying to please someone actually becomes a burden. It creates this weird dynamic where she feels like she's steering the whole ship. And now she's not just dating you, she's leading you. That's not attractive. Women respect men who know what they want, who can say no with grace, who can disagree without turning it into a fight. Being kind is one thing. Being spineless is another. When you stand for nothing, you become forgettable. And women don't fall for forgettable. They fall for presence, for grounded energy. For someone who's not afraid to have a different opinion, try a different restaurant, or say, I don't actually enjoy that kind of movie, but go with your friend and tell me how it is. And honestly, it's more attractive to be respectfully honest than eternally agreeable. You don't have to be a jerk. You just have to be real. It's because trying to please everyone makes you blend into the background, and presence isn't about blending in. It's about standing tall without forcing anything. When you stop trying to be liked and start being authentic, you naturally attract the right kind of attention. And trust me, she'll feel that shift. 5. Talking down about yourself even as a joke. Let's be real. A little self-deprecating humor can be charming. It shows you don't take yourself too seriously, that you're human. But there's a line, and once you cross it, it stops being funny and starts sounding like low self-worth. If every joke you make is about how dumb you are, how unlucky you are with women, or how you're just some loser, people stop seeing it as humor and start seeing it as a cry for reassurance. Especially women. Because at first, she might laugh along, but if it keeps happening, what she's really thinking is, does he actually believe this about himself? And once that doubt creeps in, the attraction starts to fade.
Okay.
No one, and I mean no one, wants to build a connection with someone who doesn't believe they're worthy of woo. It's being chosen. It's not about pretending to be perfect or putting on a fake confident mask. It's about recognizing that your words, even in jokes, teach people how to see you. If you keep planting the idea that you're not good enough, they'll eventually believe you. And worse, you'll believe it too. That internal script becomes your reality. The key is learning the difference between laughing at a moment and laughing at yourself. If you trip walking into the room, make a quick joke, sure. Don't turn it into a stand-up routine about how clumsy, stupid, or unlucky you are in life. That energy isn't relatable, it's draining. And here's the thing, women don't want perfection, they want stability, emotional steadiness. Someone who can be lighthearted but still owns his value. If you constantly talk down about yourself, even behind a smile, it creates this low-grade tension, like she has to lift you up just to keep the connection alive. And nobody signs up for that long term. So check your humor. Is it actually light? Or is it carrying weight you haven't dealt with? Because you don't need to tear yourself down to make people laugh. You can be funny and grounded at the same time. And that combination? That's gold. 6. Being indecisive. Indecisiveness. Might seem harmless, even polite, like you're just trying to be accommodating or easygoing. But in reality, it's one of the fastest ways to lose a woman's interest. When a guy can't make a decision, even a small one, it signals a lack of leadership, clarity, and confidence. Whether it's choosing a restaurant, planning a date, or even deciding what to watch, constantly deferring with, I don't know, what do you want to do? Puts all the pressure on her. And here's the part most guys miss. While you think you're being respectful by giving her the choice, what she actually feels is burdened. Like now she has to carry the emotional and logistical weight for both of you, and that is anything but attractive. Women want to feel like they can relax around you, not like they need to run the show. And being decisive doesn't mean being controlling or bossy, it simply means having a point of view. It means saying, let's try that new taco spot. I heard it's good. Instead of tossing the decision back and forth until it becomes frustrating. Even if it's not the perfect choice, the act of taking the lead shows her that you're someone she can trust to make calls, to step forward, to have a direction. And that matters deeply. 'Cause in relationships, especially over time, women want to feel like they're with someone who can take initiative, not someone they constantly have to nudge into action. The truth is, indecision usually comes from fear of getting it wrong, fear of disappointing her, fear of rejection. But here's the thing, most women would rather you make a bold, imperfect choice than sit in limbo trying to read her mind. Confidence isn't about always getting it right. It's about being okay with choosing, owning it, and adjusting, if needed. That's leadership. That's presence. And when you start showing up that way, women notice. You stop feeling like a maybe and start feeling like a man with a pulse, a purpose, and a point of view. 7. Oversharing emotions without emotional control. Let's clear something up right away. Vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, when done right, it's one of the most powerful things a man can offer. But there's a huge difference between being emotionally open and emotionally chaotic. Oversharing without emotional control isn't vulnerability, it's a dump. It's when a guy uses a woman as his emotional outlet, unloading every raw feeling without filtering, processing, or self-awareness. And while you might think that level of honesty will create closeness, what it actually creates is pressure. She's not your therapist. She's not responsible for holding all your wounds the moment you feel them. And when it happens too early, or too often, it starts to feel like she's parenting your emotional state, not partnering with it. Emotional strength isn't about bottling everything up or pretending you're fine when you're not. It's about being able to feel something, sit with it, process it, and then share it in a way that's clear, composed, and connected. A man who says, "I've been dealing with something heavy lately and I'm working through it," shows strength. He's aware, he's present, and he's not asking her to fix it for him. But if you're breaking down constantly, crying about your ex, spiraling over every small trigger, especially in the early stages, it signals instability. This makes her feel like she has to manage your emotions, and that's exhausting. And here's the thing, women crave emotional depth. But they want it from a man who can hold his own storm. It's not one who gets swept up in it. This isn't about toughing it out or becoming emotionally numb. It's about self-leadership, emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, regulate, and communicate your emotions is one of the most attractive traits you can build. Not because you never feel pain, but because you have the maturity to move through it without offloading it carelessly. That balance is rare. It's magnetic. And when you show up with that kind of grounded emotional clarity, you give her permission to be vulnerable too, not out of pressure, but out of mutual trust. That's when connection deepens. That's when strength and softness meet. And it's that balance that makes a man unforgettable. Conclusion. So if you saw yourself in one, maybe even a few of these behaviors, don't panic. That's not weakness. That's awareness. Honestly, that's where change begins. Every one of these habits probably started with good intentions, being polite, being kind, being emotionally available. But somewhere along the way, those instincts got twisted into patterns that actually take your power away. And women, they feel that, not always consciously, but they sense when a man isn't centered in himself. When he's chasing approval, shrinking himself, avoiding tension, or bleeding emotionally without control, it creates disconnection, not intimacy. But here's the good news. All of this is changeable. You don't need to fake anything. You don't need to turn into some alpha caricature. You just need to start unlearning what's weakening you and reclaiming the parts of yourself that already know how to stand tall, that already know how to move through the world with quiet confidence, presence, and emotional strength. And when you do that, when you stop doing the things that make you look weak, you stop repelling the right people. You start attracting them. Not because you've become someone else, but because you've finally stopped hiding who you really are. If this spoke to you even a little, hit that like button to let the algorithm know we're doing something real here. Drop a comment and tell me which of these behaviors you're working on letting go of. And if you want more videos that help you build real, grounded strength, not surface-level tricks, subscribe and stick around. We've got a lot more to uncover.